Welcome back to another episode of This Chapter Rewritten. And if this is your first time tuning in, I'm so glad that you're here. Today, we're talking about something that women of literally all ages are struggling with. And that's dating apps, and the absolutely chaotic dating culture that we're all trying to navigate. I'm sharing some of my own personal experiences as a single mom in her 40s, but I know women in their 20s and 30s who are dealing with the exact same nonsense, if not worse, especially the ones that still want marriage and children. The pressure is intense, and the dating pool is less than ideal. For me, I don't have that pressure anymore. I've been married. I have children. I've built a life that I'm genuinely comfortable in. So at this point, for me, finding a partner, finding the right partner would just be a bonus, but it's not a requirement. And that honestly makes it easier to be more and more selective because we know that nothing feels worse than being in an unhappy relationship. You will never feel lonelier than you will feel in an unhappy relationship. I'm at a place in my life where peace comes first, always. So today we're getting into why modern dating feels so challenging, how to keep your standards high when the dating pool is so low, how to trust your gut on the apps, and how more and more women are actually happier staying single than settling. And I'm sharing some of my recent dating app experiences, all of which were almost first dates, and why I walked away from all of them. So let's get into it. Dating right now is really something else. And if you're out there blaming yourself or wondering why it feels harder than it should, please hear me when I say this. It's really not you. It is the current dating culture. Most people today are emotionally unavailable, don't know what they want all the benefits of connection without the effort, are absolutely terrified of vulnerability, are burnt out. Dating burnout is a real thing, are looking for vibes instead of value. And on top of all that, dating apps have turned people into options instead of humans. I myself refer to dating apps as human catalogs because it does so often feel like you are literally shopping for a person. So when you're someone who actually knows yourself and has put in the work, who's looking for peace and reciprocity, it becomes painfully obvious how many people are not on that level. And that's why keeping your standards high matters more than ever. Let me give you some examples from my own recent personal experiences. I started chatting with a man on a dating app. Things seemed promising. We set up a date pretty quickly. We hadn't done a lot of talking, but enough to know that there was some interest and we both wanted to move forward with a date. And I prefer to get to know someone in person rather than doing a whole lot of back and forth on the apps anyway. So that was fine with me. So he asked when I would be free. I told him. We picked the day, the time, picked the location. Everything was set. He had even offered to come to my city, which I think is just the obvious choice, but these days, a lot of men don't offer. So I appreciated that. So everything was clear. Everything was set. We spoke the day before the date was planned and had both said we were looking forward to it. Then on the day of the date, I had a really stressful morning. My daughter's school was in lockdown. And if you are a parent, you know how stressful that is. Literally talking about it right now, I feel like the wave of emotion and anxiety wash over me. So needless to say, I wasn't on the apps. I really wasn't checking my messages at all. I was pretty laser focused on one thing and one thing only. It really had not even crossed my mind to confirm what in my mind had already been confirmed, even if there hadn't have been anything else going on. Then that afternoon, when I did get a chance to check in, I saw a couple messages from him, and the last one said, I was really hoping that you would confirm for tonight. And I thought, okay, that's odd. Like, we've really set it up and basically just talked about it the night before. So I sent him a quick message and said, I've had a super stressful day. I'll explain later when I see you. And he messaged me back and said, I won't be able to make it tonight. I have committed to completing a project at work. When I didn't hear from you to confirm, I accepted the project. So I messaged him and said, since we had already set everything up and confirmed, I didn't feel the need to reconfirm this morning since it was already confirmed. But no worries. I wish you the best. And he messaged back and said, I would still like to take you out and get to know you. I hope that I haven't put you off with my mistake. Well, he definitely did put me off with his mistake. And one of my standards is I don't give second chances. And I know that there are people who will not agree with that, and that's fine. There is not any point in time in my many years that I have given a man a second chance after he has disappointed me, and that has worked out in my benefit. Each and every time that I have offered a man a second chance, he has gone on to disappoint me again. And at that point, when you've given that first second chance, it almost creates this need to make the relationship work. And you are then more likely to give third and fourth and fifth and so on chances. So that's my personal rule. I don't give second chances. And I've actually never even seen a second chance work out for any of the women that I know. If it has worked out for you, I would ask, are you really being honest with yourself? Did you give that second chance without having to lower your standards or without allowing someone to push a boundary? And if it did truly work out for you, that's great. I would say that you are the exception. My standard is that when someone shows me who they are, I believe them. I will always choose to believe actions over words. And what his action showed me was that either A, he is extremely insecure, needing multiple confirmations in order to feel secure about a date that we had already set, or simply that I'm not a priority and that I would not be a priority. Either way, it was a no for me. Another situation, met a man online, chatted for a little bit, no big red flags, maybe a couple of small yellow flags that I was paying attention to. For example, some mention of future things before we had even gone out on a first date, but no extreme love bombing or anything like that. So we had a date set up, and on the day of the date, he messaged me and said, when I see you tonight, you better give me a big hug. And that immediately caused alarm bells to start going off for me. And I asked him, or what? And he said something along the lines of, well, I've been waiting to meet you and I'll just be excited to put my arms around you, or something weird like that. It made the whole thing feel off for me. Because while I typically do hug people upon meeting at a first date, I do it only if I feel comfortable. So when we walk up to each other, if for any reason at all, I don't feel comfortable to give them a hug, I simply don't do it. But for me, if I do feel comfortable, I do like to hug upon meeting. For me, I do like to see how I feel in their physical presence. If your preference is you don't hug upon meeting at a first date, I completely respect that. You should never do anything that you don't feel comfortable doing. For me, I definitely had very strong gut feelings about him saying that, and I chose to listen to my gut, and I canceled that date. And I have zero regrets about it. And this one was done pretty much as quickly as it started. We chatted on the app a little bit, and then he asked for my phone number, which I typically do not like to give out my phone number before meeting someone. But I was really struggling with getting on the apps to check my messages. And since I felt there was enough of a vibe there, I went against my better judgment and I gave him my phone number. So we started messaging on WhatsApp, and he did mention wanting to take me out on a date. But after about maybe 3 or 4 messages back and forth, he asked me, would you mind sending me some pictures? And I said, yes, I would mind. I have many photos on the dating app where we met. And he said, oh, yeah, I just haven't been on there for a while and I wanted to see more pictures of you. Well, that's weird because we were just chatting on the dating app yesterday. And you can always go back to the dating app and look at my photos. I have a good selection of photos. I have as many photos as the app will allow. I have close up headshots. I have more than one full body shot. I have different angles, poses. There's no filters. There's no camouflaging. I'm not hiding anything. So I don't know what sending him more photos was going to accomplish. And honestly, I'm not here for your viewing pleasure. He said that he wanted to take me on a date. So why would you ask me for more photos? You've seen my photo. Take me on the date and see what I look like in person. That's what makes sense to me. But that completely put me off because you then get the feeling that this person's motivation for connection is purely physical. And since that's not what I'm looking for, it's a no for me. So I said, I think that I have enough photos on the app. So that doesn't work for me, but have a great day. And he said, no problem. You have a great day as well. Chat later. No, we're not going to chat later. You're blocked. I unmatched him from the app and blocked him from WhatsApp. It's a no for me, and I'm totally fine with that. The last one that I'm going to mention is one that I see very, very often. So chatting with this man, wasn't asking a lot about me, but was talking about going on a date. It took quite a while to actually set the date up. And at that point, we were shooting back and forth, maybe one message a day, set up a date. We had spoken the day before. And I say set up a date. We set up what day we would go on a date. We never discussed where we were going. I don't even think that we had picked a specific time, which I'm expecting that he is going to make the plans. Clearly, he thought otherwise because the day of the date, I just never heard from him. And I wasn't going to reach out to him and ask, where are we going tonight? Or what time are we meeting at? Absolutely not. So that was an immediate block for me. Done. No second chances there. And I'm perfectly fine with my standards. I have made it very clear to myself what my standards and boundaries are. And this current dating culture requires higher standards than ever, not lower. Because most of the disappointment that women experience today comes from ignoring red flags, over accommodating, which comes off as desperate, giving second chances, which lead to third chances, fourth chances, and so on, clinging to potential, hoping that their behavior is going to change. It won't. And lowering our boundaries to appear understanding. And I just refuse to do any of those things anymore. And my standards aren't about looking for perfection. It's about character. They're about consistency, emotional maturity, initiative, integrity, effort, communication, basic respect. None of those men demonstrated those characteristics. So why would I waste my time hoping that they might in the future? In the beginning, you're putting your best foot forward. So if their best foot doesn't even meet my standards, their future self is definitely not going to meet my standards. And if your boundaries push someone away, then they were never meant for you. And here's the thing that so many of us are really hesitating to admit. It's becoming more common and more comfortable for women to choose single life over low quality dating. When you have peace, stability, your own life, you're confident, being single stops feeling like loneliness and it starts feeling like freedom. The right relationship will add to your life, not complicate it. And if you're listening to this and thinking, oh my God, this is literally me, and you want support navigating dating, boundaries, self-trust, or building your confidence, that is exactly the kind of work that I do in my one-to-one coaching. The link is in the show notes if you ever feel like chatting. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please give it a like, follow, subscribe, whatever your app calls for. Your support helps my channel grow and helps me reach more women that need these kinds of conversations. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, remember to trust people's actions, not their words, and trust yourself even more.